Welcome to Gen Z Journey. Today we have Victoria on the podcast. So Victoria is born in Hong Kong in the year 2001. She studied philosophy, politics and economics in University of York, and she has lived in 4 countries and was part of AIESEC for almost 4 years. Right now, she's working as an employee engagement trainee in DHL Germany. So, yes, Victoria, did I miss out on any interesting details about you?
No, all good. Those are all my current statuses.
I see. So let's jump straight in. Can you tell us where have you lived and what made you, just lived in 4 different countries?
I was born in Hong Kong. I was born and also raised there. Lots of people assume I never did the public exam system there, but I also passed that because I think in Hong Kong it's quite common that if people want to do university abroad anyway, then they just study or leave school earlier. But I also did the last year of secondary school, and then afterwards I moved to the UK for university. And there I joined AIESEC, and I also moved to Belgium for a full-time role for the national duty within Belgium. So that was why I moved to Belgium. And afterwards, I got an internship within DHL, and that was also how I moved to Germany.
I see. Wow. Interesting. Okay. That is really cool. But how do you feel whenever you move somewhere? Like, is there a
Mm.
certain fear or how does that feel like for you?
I think for each country it's quite different because, for example, when it comes to the time when you make a decision, like for example, for the UK, it was always for years that I knew, okay, I wanted to go to the UK for university. So there was that mental preparation. And there comes also, for example, for Belgium, I did an interview and then like I was told like when I got the role that, okay, 4 days later, you need to move to Brussels from the UK. So
Whoa.
4 days of notice versus years of preparation. So I think that makes one, let's say, maybe have less time to look, to think, or to prepare mentally. So it's more about logistics of like, okay, how do I move all my belongings now to Brussels, or like what are the transport costs, and so more like the technical bits rather than the mental preparation. And I think also for different countries, because they also have their kind of unique characteristics. And I think the main thing for me would be language. So moving to the UK, the main language is English, which was fine. But when it comes to moving to Belgium and also Germany, like then it also puts up like a language barrier for me, not being so easy to communicate with local people and everything.
Okay. Like, because you went to, I actually, what do they speak in Belgium? Sorry, I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah, so they have three official languages. They have
Whoa.
French, Dutch, and also German. German is actually very not so much spoken, but the north of Germany it's called Flanders, and they speak Dutch in the southern part of no of Belgium. So northern part of Belgium, Flanders, southern part of Belgium, it's called Wallonia, and then they speak French there. But then kind of Brussels is an area located within Flanders. So they're like a French speaking zone as well. So, but it's also still in the north of the country. So mainly these two languages.
See, was it easy for you to blend in with all this different languages, this language barrier?
I think for Belgium, I would admit that I didn't really put the effort into it because I knew that for the contract it was 1 year. So, and I'm like,
Okay.
and I don't think I want to stay in Belgium for long term. It was just for AIESEC. So that's why, like, and then in my environment, it's very English speaking. But I also picked up some French in school, but that was like 6 years ago. And I never knew that one day I need to move to Belgium and kind of be having to use it. So, and at that time I was also learning German already. So in the sense of when let's say going to a supermarket and then having to pay, and then I know, okay, I need to activate a foreign language. And then sometimes I would say German, but I'm like, no, it's another foreign language. It should be French rather than German. But I think since I moved to Germany, it's less confusing because in my daily life, it's only English or German. So not too many languages.
Interesting. Okay, that's interesting perspective that I I guess I wish I never will encounter. Yeah, because I'm not so much of a language person. I cannot imagine myself switching between multiple language.
But
Yeah,
have you
that
tried
is really
learning a
cool.
new
Thanks.
one
Hmm?
before? Have you tried learning a new one before?
Good question. I like that. So, at one point it was all on Duolingo. I never like took on any
Mm,
language classes and all this. Like, okay, by default in Malaysia we kind of had to learn three different languages. We have like, because like I'm Chinese, Malaysian Chinese, so I know Mandarin, and then growing up we learn English as well, and because
mm,
Malay is the official language, so we kind of have to know all three. But I have to say that my Malay is just like limited working proficiency as what I put on
mm.
LinkedIn. Yeah,
I see.
I speak too much about that. Like even Mandarin right now, like last year, I'm starting to forgetting how to write it because I haven't written it for so long. And then when you type, you just use pinyin, so it's getting worse. But okay, learning other languages. I did learn Spanish for a short period of time on
Mm,
Duolingo. And then I stopped there. Like the phrase that I know I'm most proud of is like "Tu hablas español," which means "Do you speak Spanish?" That's the only like sentence that I remember. I
mm,
thought of learning French last year because after I got the Olympics ticket. I was like, it's a good idea, especially they talk about how French are more bougie and all this. They might not they would not speak English if they
yeah.
can choose not to. So I was like, maybe it's a good idea to learn it. I learned it for a very, very short while, and then I gave up. I was like, yeah, never mind. Yeah, so
Mm,
I don't know. I guess languages never really appealed to me. Definitely, if I do move to somewhere which I'm forced to learn, I I would do that. But if it's not necessary, I wouldn't force myself to do it.
yeah, I guess
Yeah,
the
so
motivation either need
that's
to be super strong that you keep up with it, or there's none. Like in between, it doesn't really get you moving anywhere. So, yeah.
yes, because I find that I think one of the best way of learning is actually putting yourself in a desperate situation where you actually have to use it, and then it's how
That's
when you
correct.
keep on conversing it, you keep on failing it, even
Yeah.
though it's super embarrassing, I believe, but you learn the most from that. Like when you
Mm,
don't really converse on a daily basis and all that, I don't think it helps. Yeah. I don't know.
hmm.
That's my opinion. Yeah. But yes, thanks for sharing about your interesting history of living in fourth country. Do you think you'll move to another country again?
I think at the moment, not so much because all these moving happened in the past 5 years. So I had a very exciting 5 years of my life, like in my lifetime. So I think for now, I could stay in Germany for a bit. But again, it's also like, for example, now that I've learned German and I understand the pain of picking a language from scratch. So if it was anywhere, like if I just want to live in a different, I don't know, like society or so, probably still German speaking. Like, I don't know, like Switzerland or Austria, they're both, I think, very nice and attractive places to live in, but still, it needs to be German speaking. I can't do and learn another language again.
But it's actually, your core skills are so you're so well prepared. I mean, you have English, like yeah, you have a bit of other languages now that you're strong in German. Yeah, you can pretty much there's a few options for you to choose from within Europe, which is
Yeah.
amazing. Like for me, I still like I need to choose an English speaking country. At one point I was thinking, maybe I could move to Switzerland, but I'm realizing that Switzerland you really have to know either German or French depending on which part of Switzerland it is. I was like, it's fine, never mind. I think I'll stick with UK.
Obstacle.
Yeah.
True. Mm.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. But yes, now let's hit back earlier in your life. You so like privately you mentioned that you went to a girls' school for 6 years, which is really interesting. I spent my time in a mixed school. I think, especially nowadays, I'm not sure. I feel like there's less of this, like I don't know what do they call it, single gender school or something.
Mm.
Yeah. So how did that feel like?
Mm. Yeah, I think first of all, it's not really that rare, especially in Hong Kong, because I think the
Oh,
most popular
oh,
schools are actually all not that because they're single gendered, that's why they're popular, but usually the single gendered school do better academically. That's why parents or students, it would be more likely or they would want to get into such schools. And 6 years for me, I think it's a moderately okay time because I also have friends who've been in a girls' school for like 15 years, like since they went to kindergarten until the day they graduate from
Wow.
secondary school. It was always with the same gender. So I think that would have been, yeah, let's say in a way, create a more different social environment compared to reality. And I think for a big thing that I learned in a single gender school is probably things to do with like I think especially in a girls' school compared to like in a boys' school for let's say students from with other experiences, then it would be that I kind of developed that sense of like, oh, like there is no boys or girls here, and if you need to do something, let's say physically demanding or even academically demanding, it's only all girls. You are on the level playing field. Nobody's gonna say, oh, boys could do physics or science better because you're just all girls, and then you can pick whatever subjects you can. And I think also same to do with like leadership experiences, because I think one time I heard from a friend or so like saying that, oh, there was a group setting and then somehow a girl they have to like pick a team leader out of the group, and one of the girls just said, oh, because you're a guy so you should be the leader. And then like when you hear that, you're just like, well, like those kind of like assumption
Right. Like,
or stereotypical
yes,
roles,
exactly.
it's crazy.
I see. Okay. So like it sounds like it is quite like for you it's quite a good experience then. Like you would you like let's say theoretically in future if you have a child and all this would you consider putting them into like single gendered school?
I think in my environment now that I'm not living in Hong Kong anymore, and I don't even think single gender school exists in Germany. So I don't think it's an option. But I
Mm,
think there are always
mm.
pros and cons. And cons would be the in the sense that I always grew up it being a very direct person. And my direct personality fitting in the Hong Kong society might not be so much of a good match, and especially in the girls' school where teenage girls are, and like when you give a direct feedback, and sometimes it might like I would say at that time I didn't grow up as a very diplomatic person, but I guess diplomacy is also not something that you learn as a teenager. But I was just like a very direct person, so that might not have hit so well with some other classmates and so. But now that I realize, so it was more like a personality thing for me. But then now that I work with a lot of like colleagues within Germany, because before I moved to Germany, I already worked with some German people, and I realized, oh, okay, so my direct sense of like working, it matches so well. Like, so I think in Germany for working, it's amazing for me in the sense that I could give feedback, and then communication is always very straightforward rather than like a lot of like second guessing or trying to interpret meanings behind as in other societies.
See, okay, that's cool. Do you think that you missed out on anything being in a single gendered school?
Mm, there are, I guess, certain like between genders, the interaction and so, but I also got that in university and nowadays every day anyway.
Oh.
So I don't feel like I have a
Mm.
strong barrier of like communicating with people from the opposite gender. So I think for that it was fine. But again, I guess it's also depends on because there are also single gender primary schools in Hong Kong. So like if people went to single gender primary school and then moving to secondary or the other way around, then it might has different effect on them. But I think I also talked to a friend some time ago, and then they were mentioning that oh their brother is a bit shy with like interacting with other with girls and so, and I'm like, oh, what kind of schools they went to, and then the friend said, oh, it's a single gender school for the brother, and I'm like, ah, yeah, I think I understand why now. So or that might be the reason for certain people. Yeah.
Very interesting. Yeah, but honestly, for me, like coming from a mixed gender school, I was like, it's very hard for me to interact with girls and all this. I don't know. I
Even
just like I
still,
guess it's my
like,
part of my, yeah, yeah. So I luckily I guess I'm not in a single gender school. I think that would made it even worse. Yeah, but I guess it's just part of my personality that I had to learn and grow out of it after I went into university.
mm.
But yes, back to university. You study philosophy, politics, and economics. What was your plan back then?
It's almost as if a question that's like, why would anybody do PPE? Like, what was the rationale behind? So I think
It
I
sounds
could.
quite complex as well, though. Like it's like all three subjects mashed together. Yeah.
It's an amazing combination. I really loved my degree. Like, highly
Wow.
recommend it. So
Okay.
I think the career, like, or aspiration behind at that time was so when I grew up, I watched a lot of like spy films and so like it was crazy the amount of stuff I watched. So I was aspiring that okay, when I move to the UK, I want to work in an intelligence agency, like figuring out like terrorism and then
Like
like
James Bond and all that.
yeah, those kind of things. That was what I really aspired to be like saving the world and protecting people from like bombs and injuries and things like that. So, and then later on, I think I joined a summer school within Hong Kong. And there they showed a lot of like simulation activity showing how people in different parts of the world might have to make a living. For example, there's this paperback simulation. They give you like newspaper or so, you need to make them into bags. And within the simulation, there's actually a person that in a way, you're kind of a slave to the guy, and then every time you submit the paperback, and then they might reject you, saying no, like this is not good enough, and then you need to redo it. Or also a simulation of sometimes like he would say, no, like I would only accept this trade or like give you your salary if you make your daughter sleep with me. So then like those are very third world scenarios that you could imagine. Yeah, probably in some countries in the world, people don't have a very easy or normal working life that they might have to like trade other kind of things or in such a bad setting. And there's also like a something called like a bottle shoe simulation. So where we have to use some like water bottles, like plastic bottles, flatten them, put some strings onto them, and then walk around the campus in them. So that's also a simulation of like probably in some places on Earth they don't have shoes, so they need to use these bottles to be made into shoes and then walk uncomfortably around. So I think from there I kind of realized like even though I didn't exactly go to a super poor country and to witness that, but it could make me imagine how life is super different. So that got me into things to do with like society or like poverty or like kind of social problems and everything. And because I wanted to study in the UK, and I know that a lot of prime ministers does this PPE combination, so I'm like, sounds like a smart choice to do so. So that's why I did that. And I remember even when my results were out, and then my brother said, yeah, there's still like the choice of studying economics at a London university. Do you want to take that? And I'm like, no, I don't think I could do one subject for 3 years. That would be too boring for me. So I need a combination of three to keep me interested.
Okay, that is really fascinating. Like the reason why you chose that. Yeah. But okay, that was your plan. But after that, you have various experiences. Well, from your LinkedIn at least, like you did consulting, business development, and then right now you are, yeah, like working on employee engagement. I guess it's more
HR,
HR-ish, is
yeah,
it?
that's right. Hmm.
Yeah. Like why all these different roles, and then why right now this current role in DHL?
Mm. I think before with the different functional like fields of work and so it wasn't really like
Mhm.
targeted because I also joined AIESEC and then I realized okay, well so within business it's not just about studying business, but there are also like all these different fields like talent management, marketing, or like management and things like that. And I think
Mhm.
at that time I got into like those internships without really knowing what it's about. And then after the internship, I'm like, okay, so business development actually means like sales, like emailing companies, like having cold calls and be rejected and trying to get a deal out of it, and everything. So that I found out midway. And I think right now within HR, it was also kind of like a coincidence in the sense of it wasn't like, oh, when I graduated, I was big on HR and so it was like having the different positions within DHL and then I saw the roles. And the first role I got in DHL, it was actually to do with like social sustainability. The title sounds super vague and not reviewing too much, but it's actually to do with like human rights reviews. So within the company, every year we pick 10 countries where we want to have a human rights review. So we pick very frontline employees in those countries, or also like migrant workers. Send people there to have interviews with them to figure out, okay, are they exploited? Are they treated nicely? Do they have the freedom of movement? Sometimes you find out, oh, if they're migrant workers, the agency keep their passport away from them, so they cannot even leave the country if they don't like the job. So finding out these kind of things, which I'm like, well, that really fits into like my crazy mission or vision of like, oh, I want to save the world, or like trying to make the world into a better place for people. So that was super nice. And afterwards, because the internship was a limited contract, so I have to like look elsewhere. And then employee engagement, it was actually also something, a team that I heard a bit about. So, and then I also heard that, okay, the manager is quite nice and everything. So I thought, okay, it's also a nice environment to try to start a new role in. So that was how I applied, and then also got the role afterwards.
See, okay, very interesting. Okay. Do you see yourself working in this role for long, or will you change into something that would help the world more?
The world war. Well, I do have an 18-month contract, so I think I'll aim to
Okay.
like finish it, like start well and then also end it well. But I guess it's just intrinsically, I'm always a person looking for like social impact and everything. And but I guess also, let's say within Isaac, or I think a lot about like social impact, leadership, or even like people's lives and so, because there's always this big saying of like, oh, I want to change the world or so, but then you realize you don't really change the world, but then you could change individual lives of people. Like for example, in Isaac, sending people abroad for exchange, then you don't exactly change the entire country that you send the person abroad in, but you hopefully change the mindset and attitude of that young person that you're sending abroad. So I think for me, that would be sufficient to be like, okay, or even in daily life, like, I don't know, interacting with different people from different countries, and then you see how they think, and then you exchange ideas. And I think that's also in a way impacting the world by impacting people around you.
That is amazing. Okay. I'm gonna switch it a bit because I noticed that you have multiple roles that you have worked in is like on contracts and all this, and then personally as a um I don't know what should I call myself, like immigrant, expatriate, I don't know which term to use, but then like definitely it is kind of scary when you are in this kind of uncertain position where you have a contract and then it'll expire and all this.
Yeah.
Like, does it how do you feel on this? How do you overcome that? I guess it is more of a personal question.
Mm, it's definitely scary as hell. Like, I think when I moved to Germany, like I had a six months contract, and it might be extended for another 6 months. So for the first 6 months, I was like, from my first day of work, I was panicking like it was so scary because I knew that like I moved to Germany for the job and so, but if I don't get a full-time job afterwards, and I need to leave this country and everything, move all my things back to the UK. But I guess for me, in the sense of like, because in the UK, I also have the right to work and also live there unlimitedly for like 5 years or so. So that's a
It's amazing.
visa offered to Hong Kong people because of political situations and
Mm.
everything. So in a way, I guess I could consider myself more privileged, as in there is always a safety net of like, if it fucks up in any other country, I could just go back to the UK. But again, like that's also the thing, because when I moved to Germany and then I have these all these kind of like hardship and challenges and everything, it doesn't help knowing that okay, you have a safety net to fall back to, because you might not like fully put in your efforts, which I think I did, but it's still like, because learning languages and integrating it takes years and everything. But it's a good and also a bad thing knowing that you have a safety net that you could fall back to. And for me, that is the UK.
I see. That's very interesting. Like, wow, I'm surprised to know that you have this safety net in UK. But why did you chose to, leave this safety net and then be a lot more adventurous and then like went to Belgium and then went to Germany? Like, is there a reason for that?
For Belgium, it was for AIESEC because I also applied to be like in a
Hmm.
national role within AIESEC UK, but I got rejected. And then it was like, I don't know, 2 months before the term is supposed to start. And then you're like, look at surrounding countries, like which other country still has application open? And I was literally randomly
I
picking countries
see.
that has still their application open. And then for Germany in particular, it was because my ex-boyfriend lived in Germany. So, and then at that time, because I lived in three countries already, so I'm like, okay, I can move to the fourth. It should be fine. But for him, he never lived abroad, so I guess I could move or adapt better. So that's why I was the one who made the move.
Okay, okay, that is very interesting. That is very interesting. Okay, now thanks for that amazing question. Yeah, thanks for answering that question. I really learn a lot from you about that. But yes, you mentioned a lot about Isaac. I know not much about Isaac, but I know it's interesting. Interesting. Do you call it society, community? I'm not sure what to call it. But how was it spent? You spent 4 years there. How was it like
Mm.
in Isaac?
Oh my God, I
Tell
feel like I'm
share more
about to
about
like
Isaac.
introduce Isaac. Like, because like usually when universities start, it's always recruitment season. So like people
Yeah.
like members from Isaac actually promote Isaac to non-Isaac. So it's funny in that sense. So I think the very short
Mhm.
summary of Isaac is like the world's biggest youth-run organization. And it does exchange and also leadership development. And I think my time in Isaac has been super fulfilling, learned a lot of new skills, met a lot of great people, and I think also understood myself a lot. And I think within Isaac, we often do these kind of like personality tests when you always apply for higher positions because yeah, I think it's also a controversial HR topic in the sense of like, oh, should we use these personality typing system to like judge candidates before you even start working with them or not? So in the sense of like having done all these like personality tests or even through conversations or like leading other people, collaborating with people from completely different reality backgrounds or even remote teams and so, I think I found out a lot of my strengths through Isaac. For example, things to do with like training or facilitation, like leading a sessions and also delivering it to an audience. But again, strengths that I thought used to be my strengths along my time in Isaac, I realized they're not my strengths anymore. Like I used to think I'm an ambitious person. And then later on, I'm like, whoa, so I feel like I don't want to apply for a high position anymore. So maybe I'm not that ambitious after all. So I think these it's also interesting and nice to be open-minded as in like because I think the thing with personality tests is like it might put you it it helps you identify yourself better because I think as human we want a sense of like belonging so and be like okay that's my type that's how I behave and that's a safe bubble where I could function within but within Isaac I think at least for me personally like strengths and weaknesses they always change you always realize strength is not really a strength and then the weakness might I don't know disappear over time and so it's a good personal change.
Thing. What do you think you have? Like I guess that's one of the learnings that you have learned from Isaac. But is there is that the main learning or is there something else that your biggest realization spending 4 years in Isaac? Your yeah.
Mm. I think probably biggest one, maybe I think
Mm-hmm.
working with internationals because even within my university circle, it was quite local. Like in my first year of uni, I lived in a house with like 15 other housemates, and most of them are British. So it was good and it was easy for adaptation. And then within university, within my course, most of them are also locals. So most of the time I spend time with like British people, but when it comes to the international, it was only starting from Isaac. So in the sense of like, and I think it also helps you relate to the world's issue more. Again, coming back to my mission of like saving the world, my social mission. So I remember like in my
I
first year of
really like that mission of yours.
I don't think I'm achieving it right now, but I think it's in the back of my mind, or I try to reach it in an alternative way. But in the sense of like my first year of Isaac, I think there was a conference and there was a session. I think talking about like the session was about river of life. So you need to draw a river on a piece of paper to indicate your highs and lows in your life, and then you share it with a teammate, which you're about to spend your future 1 year with. So that was a very intimate and also close moment. And I remember that my president at that time, he was sharing that he's from Zimbabwe. So he was saying that growing up or going to school, usually the boys they try not to wear school uniform because if you wear school uniform on the street at night, you're very likely to be attacked or kidnapped by other people because they identify you as oh you're just a schoolboy. So and then you hear that and you're like, how could people grow up like that and having such a dangerous environment? And it's just crazy, like unbelievable. But I think in a sense of like sometimes I think for people they might not care so much about society as let's say me or people around them. But I guess at the end of the day, it comes to like limited time and limited attention. When everybody has limited time, then you can't care about every single issue in the world. But for me, I think through that story, and then I started reflecting and be like, oh, because that's a friend. And then I know that if a friend's homeland happens something, then I would be more aware of it, even though I'm not personally connected with the country, but because my friend is. Or, for example, I have a friend living in Oman, and I think some time ago there was I don't remember whether that was like a flood or earthquake, and then I texted her and be like, "Are you and your family okay?" or so, and then she would also appreciate that I was connecting, seeing the news and this friend and whether their family is safe or not. So that's also an interesting realization, I guess.
Very interesting. Yeah. Amazing. Wow. Sounds like Isaac is it is a fun place. I mean like I do know quite a few people that are in Isaac, were in Isaac, but they always say that it's an amazing place. And yeah, like are you still, I'm not sure how it works. Are you still in Isaac? Are you still contributing to it? Or like is there a period where you exit it or something like that? I don't know.
I'm an alumni, but I'm still contributing. Because I think within Germany nowadays
Okay.
they have these regional conferences. It only started this year, so I'm like, this is amazing. Since I moved to Germany, I can
Hmm.
contribute back to AIESEC. So every 6 months they have these regional conferences. That is kind of like introducing new members into AIESEC and also doing some leadership development. So nowadays, I just know, okay, every 6 months I could just apply to be a facilitator and then do some sessions, go to the conference and still bond and also make new friends. So I think that's my way of contributing towards AIESEC. But again, I think the vast majority of my friends were from AIESEC. So I'm still kind of in this very much bubble. Because even within DHL, like, because they hire a lot of like internationals through AIESEC, so they also happen like in AIESEC.
Oh.
Even local people. There's a colleague within my team, and then she was like, "Oh yeah, I used to be a VP in AIESEC like 10 years ago within Cologne," and I'm like, "Well, I never knew." So, they're everywhere still.
Interesting. Okay, that's really cool to hear. But yes, wondering like where are like you mentioned that you can practically permanently stay in the UK. So is your family right now based in the UK?
Not permanently, but then I could renew my visa for an unlimited amount of time. So for my family,
I see.
it's interesting. So my parents right now they are in Hong Kong, but they moved to the UK in
Hmm?
October, and they moved back to Hong Kong this year
Oh.
around March or April. My sister lives in the UK. My brother lives in Hong Kong. Yeah.
Oh. Interesting. Okay, interesting. Like how do you interesting like wow, so you have like members on both UK and Hong Kong. And how do you find like I don't know, maintaining relationship with them? Do you feel
Mm.
homesick? Or I don't even know how does homesick work for you now? Like is your home UK or is your home Hong Kong?
Oh my God. I think right now I suffer homesick for the UK. So when I moved abroad, from Hong Kong to the UK, like I didn't have any homesick because I always knew that, okay, I wanted to move to such an environment. And then like it was something that I actively seeked for and also mentally prepared for. So it was all good. Um, and then I think since I moved to Germany, and then I kind of like, I think for the first few months, when I was still waiting for my work permit to be approved and visa and everything, like within Germany, then I was feeling like I use this metaphor of like, I feel like I'm a sunflower, but I don't have my sunshine anymore. So I'm kind of like withering because I don't have my friends and support network around me anymore in Germany. So that was quite hard. So and I think right now, in the sense of like comparing the two countries, but of course, there's always no perfect country in the world. But I do think that in the UK, because I spent 3 years there, and then now, like, it's interesting because my sister moved to the UK when I left the UK, so we never lived in the same country. Even though the UK is big, like I studied in York, she lives in Edinburgh now. But I think the other day I was reflecting, or we were having our usual like Sunday calls, and then I was like, yeah, it feels strange because when I flew to Edinburgh to visit her, I think some months ago. And at the airport, like the lady at the border control was like, welcome back. And I was like, almost like so touched and almost tearing up. And so it was weird because I never lived in Edinburgh, but because my sister and her cat lives there now. So it's like my closest family member, like both physically and also like I think emotionally, my closest family member, my sister, lives there. So that's what it makes Edinburgh or the UK as a whole feels more homey to me compared to in Germany where I have my work and also friends and so, but not so much of that kind of like long-term relationship with the country. Yeah.
Very interesting. Yeah, I like honestly, I felt same thing. It's weird. Like definitely all my family members are all the way in Malaysia. None of them
Mm.
are in the UK, but I don't know when I wanted to move here for studying, I was quite firm. I want to stay here. It's not that I'll stay here permanently, but definitely I wouldn't want to stay in Malaysia, I guess.
Mm.
Yeah, but and then after staying for a bit, I think I remember the first time when I traveled back to Malaysia, when there's this odd feeling when I came back to UK, hearing British English
I
in
miss
the
that.
airport and all that. Yeah, yeah. It feels like home for some reason. It feels comfortable, like being back. It's not the best weather, definitely in the UK, but
No.
being in that like cooling weather compared to like tropical humid Malaysian weather, I was like, I don't know why. It does feel like home, even though I don't have any family members. Yeah, I don't know why. It's weird, but I totally get what you feel.
Mm.
Yeah. But yes, is it hard for you to be away from your family?
I think not so much so, and especially since my sister moved to the UK, because I remember, like when I was in university, I haven't seen my sister for like 2 years or something, and then I was doing quarantine in Hong Kong. So, and then like it was so funny because like I was living in a hotel in the area that I grew up in, and then like I think my sister was like walking by in the garden or park in front of the hotel. Like the hotel is like super tall. I don't know. I was on the 20th floor or something, and I was like trying to look down and see my sister and say hi to her. And then I was like, yeah, that's the first time I see my sister physically in 2 years. And then after I got out of quarantine, she was
Whoa.
staying with me, and so that was nice. And since she moved to the UK, and I think when I was living in Brussels, she was also we met each other like every 1 or 2 months. So that was actually quite
Oh, that's
frequent, like
amazing.
despite different countries. And she also joined AIESEC for a while, and I think there was a conference when I came and when I went back to the UK for to be a
Mhm.
facilitator, and that was like our first and only AIESEC conference together. So I was like taking a picture of her. I'm like, I can't believe my sister's in the same AIESEC conference as me, like in the hotel room. Like I was so surprised, and I think that was a super nice feeling. Because obviously I was also like socializing and also meeting old friends from my AIESEC bubble within the conference. But we were like, I think it was like a 3 or 4 day conference. So every morning I would just have breakfast with my sister in the morning in the hotel, and then we part our ways. We go to different AIESEC sessions and so. But that was I think a super nice and fond memory of mine.
Amazing. I believe like it feels different when how do I say it? When you engage with your family members in the same interest or something. I'm not sure
Outside of
if
the
you
family
understand what I
environment, you
mean. Like
mean?
yes, 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 but like outside the family environment, but then in the same interest. Like, oh,
Mm.
it's like good to have someone that you really know so well and then doing something that you truly enjoy and all this. I believe
Yeah.
that is one amazing thing. Yeah, like recently my sister got into run. Actually, it's been a year actually. She got into running competitive, I guess, quite competitively.
Mm.
And then like recently, my dad, I used to run like marathons with my dad as well. And then my dad was like
Wow.
saying, well, we should really something that we should do together next time in the future. That is that all three of us will go for a like marathon or half marathon together, participating in together. And I really do look forward to that. I think it will be a truly fun one because it's not like forcing anyone to go because one person is going. It's more like it's all our interests, and then we just
Yeah, you
want
do it
to do something
anyway.
that we're truly interested together. Yes, yes, yes.
Mm.
So I truly look forward to that. Yeah. But yes,
Nice.
like working overseas, living on yourself, um, I'm just wondering, has there any moments where you got burned out or anything?
Burnout, not so much. I think at some point in my AIESEC time, like yeah, I think at the beginning I was also a workaholic of like doing AIESEC nonstop, and I spent more time on AIESEC compared to doing my university stuff. So that and then at some point I was like or also starting to become like a leader. As you go along, then you're like, if you do everything for your team members, they're not gonna learn themselves, and they're not gonna realize the consequences or fuck up that if they don't do what they are supposed to be. So in that sense, I think I let go a lot of that, in the sense of like the responsibilities or so. I think it's a learning journey that the people that I'm leading, they should go through themselves. I can't do everything for them because in that case, I would take away their learning journey, then they don't learn anymore. So whether it's like for themselves, whether it's learning a new skill or learning the consequence of if you're a leader and you're not doing your job, then what will be the consequence in that sense? So I don't think personally I'm a workaholic, so I don't really get burned out. But I think it was a sense of, as you mentioned, like with the limited duration visa and everything, that stressed me out a lot. Yeah.
Do you have a way to, I don't know, overcome that? Like, cause like recently, recently what I did is I started seeing a therapist after realizing, after speaking, thanks to this podcast, honestly, speaking to different people, learning that so many people actually went for therapy and then they find it really helpful. I was like, yeah, I guess I should really go for it. I actually, unfortunately, I only had one session, and then my therapist got sick, really sick, so I haven't
No.
been seeing her for the past 2 weeks. Yeah, I quite enjoyed this therapist, so I hope that it will
Mm,
work out for me well. Like, I know the hardest process is like finding the right therapist, but okay, too much talking about therapists. But basically, I realized like for me, whenever I got so, how do I say it? When my mind is so confused, so many things running in it, I started doing reflection journaling, which I find it
mm,
really helpful. I wonder, do you have any ways that you use to cope with all this, I don't know, stress or
mm.
anxiety? Yeah.
I think I used to journal for a while. Does it
Mm.
help so much? I'm not so much. I mean, in the sense of yeah, it's nice to like kind of ranting into your journal rather than ranting to other people, which stress them out as well. And they're also looking at you and be like, yeah, that's a really shitty situation. Like, and there's no way you could do about it. And I like to think I'm still a solution oriented person. So in a way of if something I do, it's not gonna bring to a solution, then it just doesn't work. Or like thinking of alternatives, like for example my first day in Germany, I'm like, okay, I really try my best. I learn the language and then I do 2 lessons every week and I do so much German homework and I still cannot be fluent within 1 year or so. Then like maybe an alternative would be considering moving back to the UK. So that was still an option. But I think those would be the options that I think about rather than there's something that I do and then my stress disappear. I wish there's something if life is so easy, you just do something and then all your stress is gone and your problem is not even there anymore, then yeah, it will be amazing. But no, so I think it would still be nice to try to find ways around things. Yeah.
Interesting, really interesting. Okay, that's really cool. Yeah, that's great. Just wondering, are you currently in a relationship?
No. What
Like,
does it
are
have
you?
something to do with what I mentioned previously?
No, 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 no. Just interested because like one thing that we would love to chat about is like understanding. I guess like throughout like the this, I don't know, adulting journey and all this, like
Mm,
I, at least for me, I guess I find relationship quite a core thing. But how do you view relationship in general? Yeah.
mm. I think sometimes friends come to me asking for advice, but then I often say, well, my scenario cannot be used as an example because I all my relationships started long distance, like and then like sometimes they're like, oh, like I'm already like in with my boyfriend or girlfriend in the same city, and now we're about to become long distance. How do I do with that? I'm like, I've never done that. It always started with long distance, and then like so that's why it's kind of like different scenarios, as in like meeting up, or also like how you interact with each other on a daily basis. But I think different people have different preferences for relationship models, or also, yeah, and I think especially when leaving your childhood bubble, or also let's say the society that you live in, then you start to see more different forms of relationship and how people find whatever interaction way works best for them. Because, for example, for some people, let's say in long distance, they really don't like calls and they just meet up when they can. But for some, it might be like having a call every day, and it's kind of like a consistent ritual or habit that you do with each other. So I think communication wise is a very different topic, especially within a long distance relationship.
Do you have any personal advice for, I don't know, people doing long distance relationship? Because like it sounds like you're quite experienced in this.
So much experience, but I guess not so much of a long duration, but I think it would be nice to try to figure out where you would align in the future, because I guess like okay, some when I started my first long distance relationship, I was literally Googling and be like, what do people do, or like how to make it work, and so because I also want to like figure out things, and so and I remember one article that I read, it was like, yeah, unfortunately in the long distance relationship, you kind of need to figure out your future mid or meeting point quite early on. Not in the sense of like when are we visiting each other next, but it's like when do you end that long
Like
distance
the
phase?
life path, is it? Is it like the dive, like which part of life where you would be interconnected again, is it?
Or like being in the physical space again, like because usually it's like either one person moves for the other or the other way around. Because I think it's not so much a case that two people move to a society or a country that's not the one that they live in already, because both would need to adapt and everything. But of course, if two foreigners meet in a common country, and then that's not long distance anyway. But in the sense of like trying to figure out your future and be like, okay, or especially if one or both people are still studying, then it's like, okay, after your university, where do you want to get a job, and trying to align that. Or when both people are still looking for a job, then it's hard because one person find a job there, and then the other one, okay, they have to find a job also there, but then it's always uncertain. And so and I think also moving in together or even within the same city, it'll be quite a different dynamic compared to when you're living in different places. And so yeah, I don't think it's advice, but it's just people trying to figuring out their things with the person next to them. So yeah.
I mean, it's amazing. I love what you share. I mean, I went through a period of long distance relationship as well. I think it was like, then it was like 2 years, then 1 year long distance, and then 2 year together, and then broke up.
Mm.
Yeah, but yeah, it is definitely interesting. I guess the one thing I'm happy that you shared that, because definitely I never really found anyone that did long distance relationship, and I never really had this conversation, so I never really knew about like different perspective and all that. So yeah, definitely I totally agree with you. It's very important to discuss about the point where both will meet in at a certain point in life. I think that is very important and all that. Yeah. Mm. But yeah, just wondering. So right now, what's your relationship status? Are you looking for someone or something? If you're not comfortable sharing, it's totally fine.
I'm single, but I'm also looking because I think now I finally got my life figured out, so that's great. Because from this year onwards, I'm financially independent. Like all my rent, everything, all my expenses, I pay for myself. So it's a nice feeling. So I'm like, oh wow, I could support myself. So I think that's great, and also in the sense of like also being inborn and trying to build a community or like support network around me. And I think or even exploring hobbies. And so I always have this fear of like, since I moved to Germany, I'm like, I really love dancing, but because I wasn't living in English speaking countries anymore. So I'm like, I don't think I could go join dancing classes, or even I'm so crazy into like, I even want to try like pottery and stuff, but all the workshops there are just taught in German. And I'm like, no, I don't think I could do that. And even recently I overcame that barrier. I'm like, okay, I'm going to go to a dance class taught in German and everything. So I think trying these new things out on my own and also building a support network around me, it's a good and stable foundation for myself first. Then I'm like, okay, now I have a stable life, daily life, not like panicking about visa so anymore. So then I could also try to look for somebody. So yeah.
I see. Interesting. Okay. I hope you don't mind if I ask more questions about this because I guess you're the first person that is willing to share about relationship, and then
No
you're
way.
actually currently actively looking for it. I mean, there are a few that are they share about it, but they are
Mm.
what what they said is that they are currently in a relationship with themselves. So like it's more of a personal
Oh,
development stage. They're not looking
cute.
for people. And right now, especially what you're saying is very relevant to me, honestly. Yeah, so I guess this is a bit of a I guess I might make a separate episode on this of myself sharing this. So right
Mm-hmm.
now I am actively looking for someone as well. In fact, I have went on a few dates like through I use online dating apps and then I've went on a few dates. So this is definitely something I'll be sharing on a separate episode myself, like my experience and all this. But yes, so like just wondering how like what do you do to meet new people? Do you use online dating apps and all this? Yeah.
Mm. So context, I live in Germany, so in the sense of like, yeah, like I think in the society, people are not very open to talking to each other. Not open to talking to each other in real life, but it's not like in the UK, somebody is just gonna talk to you in the bus stop just because they have some time to spare. Not even like actively looking something or even finding you attractive. But people are just so open to having conversations in the UK. Maybe not so much in London, Andrew, I don't know. But that was my experience in York. So people are
Mm.
friendly and nice. So I miss that part of it. But within Germany, like people don't really talk to strangers randomly. And that was a reality that I was used to when I was in the UK. So unfortunately, like not like unfortunately, but then the kind of remaining option would be to be using like online dating apps, which I'm also using right now. So I guess in that case, it's also like also realizing like how this works because I only started using it this year. Because before, how
Mm.
I met my boyfriend or ex-boyfriends at that time, it was always through AIESEC. So and it was yeah also long distance, so it wasn't like a very common way of meeting somebody. And then with dating apps, it only started this year, so I'm also still exploring. Yeah.
How do you find it? Because I'm not sure. I mean like um I guess to some people, dating apps are quite suspicious, or it's I am not sure. Even I guess even in some of towards some of my friends, it would be more of a taboo. They were like,
Taboo.
you don't really like. I don't know. I guess maybe that's too much of a strong word to use, but more
Mm.
like certain I guess certain dating apps people use it for hookups, physical relationships and all this, and then so some people are more aware of that and then they just don't want to get that label on them, so they wouldn't want to use online dating apps, or they wouldn't want to let people know if they use online dating app, which definitely I realize that's not the case, having used myself and all this. Yeah, so yes, what do you think about that?
I mean, from what you described, just because other people are looking, or like just because some other people are looking for hookups, doesn't mean you are looking for hookups.
Mm.
So I don't get how that label generalizes everybody. So yeah. Hmm.
Mm. I see. That is amazing. That is amazing. Yeah, like because I guess also quite a surprising thing because like recently, definitely now I'm working on like I guess my family is a very traditional Asian
Mm.
family where we didn't share much until like after my mom's passing. I was like, no, we have to share a lot more. So that's why even right now when I'm having all these dates and all this, I'll share to my family and all this, and then like my dad totally has no idea how online dating works and all this. It doesn't know like how does it work, like how does matching works, like do you get what do you get to see on a dating app and all this kind of stuff. I was like it's really interesting when I
So you
started
explain
entering
it
this,
to
and
him.
then yeah, because it's like many things sometimes that it feels so normal to us. it's
Mm,
really not normal to them. I forget
yeah.
about how in such a different generation that they came from, that they don't know all these things exist. They never, yeah, they never heard of it. Like I even remember one time when my dad was, I think, using Facebook, and
Mm-hmm.
then because like it's so normal for us that when we like something, we want to unlike it, we just know that we'll tap that like button again and then you unlike it. But then I guess it's just different that he never thought that it would work that way. He liked something and then I was like, actually, how to unlike it? I was like, oh, you just tap it again. Yeah, like there's all this different perspective that I never thought about. Like, yeah, just very interesting. Yeah, I like just dived into this online dating thing, sharing my families, learning a lot of things. I was like, wow. Do you have like, okay, if you're open to sharing, what is your advice to people? Like, it's not really advice, but from what you have learned until now to people that are entering online dating.
Mm, from the
I
limited
guess it'll
amount
be
of
very
time.
interesting. Yeah, I mean, it'll be very interesting. I think you share it and I'll share it as well. Because the interesting thing is that you are looking from a female perspective, and
Yeah,
then I am
true.
looking from a male perspective. And
Mm.
especially one thing I realize is that, like, unlike Facebook, where you see everyone, like, definitely there's their own bubble, but everyone sees pretty much quite similar, 90% similar. But on dating apps, because what I'm seeing is mostly females, and then what you're seeing is mostly male. So it's actually quite different, and then the interaction will be quite different, like the way that you get more. From what I heard, after talking to a few people, female tends to get more likes and all that, more matches and all that. So I think it's actually, even though it's the same app, but it's different interaction for both genders. So I think it'll be
Um,
very interesting to hear from your learnings, and then yeah, I would love to share mine as well.
mm. I think some that I could think of so far, use subscription if you can afford. It saves time and effort. Because, yeah, I think it's a time consuming thing, as in, like, it's almost like fishing, like a lot of fish in the sea and everything. And then you need to look at each fish and then be like, okay, does it suit you or not? Would you be interested or not? But I think having like filters or using the subscription, it does saves a lot of time and also effort of like screening things. So that's one thing. And the other one is, I think it's also more like a personal thing. I'm not a big fan of like exchanging Instagram with a date because some people might publicly post it on their profile. And I think for me, like Instagram
Mm.
is quite a private thing in the sense of like, okay, my friends know what I'm doing, and I know what my friends are doing, but it needs to be friends. It because there's a lot of like personal, private stuff within Instagram for myself personally. So I would only want people that I know to be able to have access to that, but not just any random, like it's almost like any random stranger on the app and then following. Then like I think for some people they would want to connect or know more about the other person through the Instagram profile. But for me it's not really my approach. So I would keep that away from my dates. Yeah.
Okay. Um, one personal question. I think. How long normally for you do you chat before you would accept to meet up physically?
Mm. Depends in the sense of because I am not always in Bonn, and then sometimes my dates are just, I don't know, out of the country for like 2 weeks or so. So we just have to like text each other for a month or so. So I think it varied quite a lot just because oftentimes we're not in the place that we're supposed to be like having our daily life in. So but I think I am a big texter in the sense of because I started with like long distance relationship or like all my relationship with that. So a big part of it was like exchanging what you do in the daily life through text. I mean, time difference is not really a crazy thing because I was still living in the UK and everything. But I do think I chat generally a lot, like on the text basis. But also because for me, I'm like, oh, if this person could only have interesting conversation in person or so, but what about like in the daily life? How do they share? But again, it's also with different people. They might have different preferences for like their expression or how they share their topics or doing a discussion, whether it's like text, voice messages, calls, or also meeting up. So yeah.
See. Very interesting. Okay, now my turn. I would love to share my experience. I feel like I guess it's the first time that I'm able to speak to someone that is
Hey.
um not not in a dating scenario where we're talking about the dating app. Yeah, so it's very exciting for me, like just to like
Mm.
dive deep into online dating app. Yeah. Do you mind do you mind are you comfortable with sharing what app are you using? Or you want to keep that private?
Nowadays, Bumble and Hinge. I love how you very respectfully
I see.
always, if you're comfortable with sharing.
Because like this, I don't know, like right now I still think that this is quite a sensitive thing. I mean, like if you reveal it, like people listening it might be able to, oh, okay, so you're now on this platform. They will just jump on it, hopefully to see you and all this. So yeah, like definitely it's better
I
to
never thought of
clarify
that,
that
but
and all that.
if I
Yeah.
like somebody, I like. If I don't like somebody, you will not hear from me. So,
I see. Okay, that's interesting.
mm,
Yeah, but yeah, cause like honestly, I realized using dating app, it's quite a learning curve as well. I did not know that it's different, but perhaps Bonn is a. Would you say that Bonn is a smaller city? Like I don't know, like not the main city of like it's not like Frankfurt or Munich. Actually, yeah. Would you say it's like smaller than those?
it's very small. Every time I go out on the weekend, I bump into a DHL colleague or friend. Not that I don't like my colleagues, but it's just
Mhm.
on the weekend I also see my DHL colleagues. And sometimes we talk about work or maybe some other things, but it just feels like, yeah, because there are a lot of people from the company living in a small town, so I also don't prefer having my dates in Bonn for fear of me bumping into colleagues. Yeah, so
Okay,
it is
very
very
interesting.
small to answer your question.
Okay. Because like previously I have started using it when I recently moved down to London, like just a month
Mm.
ago, and then I was using it in Nottingham. So my experience in Nottingham, so I used two apps. I used Coffee Meets Bagel and Hinge, and then my experience was that I guess there's just too few people. It's really hard to get matches, and like there's yeah, just such a small place. So and then, but once I moved down to London,
Hmm.
it's totally different. I think
How is it
it's
like in
just
London?
basically the it's like because you said definitely you suggest using subscription. I guess I legit I was thinking about that when I was in Nottingham, but once I moved down to London, I was like, oh, that's not needed at all, because I think it's just the sheer how I mean London is a huge city. It's one of
Mm.
the top cities in the world. So the sheer the sample size is so huge. There's so many people on the app itself that I just yeah, like there's always people. It almost got to a time where I'm like, I'm so tired of it. I was like, yeah, I need a break. I need a
Mm.
break from like swiping and all this kind of stuff. So I mean, I didn't pay for anything, and then I have met a few quality matches, which kind of brings me to a new question, a new problem. I guess I'll ask you. I'll ask you that as well, since it's the right time. But yeah, basically my experience is that initially I was really, because like from my experience in Nottingham, I'll be like, I was quite desperate. Basically, I was simply saying
In
I was very
Nottingham,
desperate,
like, or is
and
it
then
more like a live stage, or since you moved to London, there are more to occupy
oh
your
no,
mind with, so less desperate?
no, because like basically in Nottingham, because like there's so few matches, so it makes me feel like
Mm.
I need to actively like more to get more matches. Yeah. So I had that same mindset coming down into London, and then I was initially quite desperate. And then so like uh yeah, definitely I have like I use all the free filters, but then whenever find someone that's like, slightly there's some interesting things between us, like some similar interests, I would just like comment
Hmm.
and all that. And it turned out that definitely initially it was okay, then I got quite a few matches and all that. But then I realized it became overwhelming. It became a bit too overwhelming. Too many people came in because because I
Mm.
sent out too many likes and all that without actually like being more picky and all that.
You're a
Yeah,
very
so
proactive person, Andrew.
um yes, I guess I was just like wondering how it works. It's like my that's why
Mm.
I'm talking about learning
Experimenting as
process. Then
well,
I
right?
realized like yes, experimenting. So then I realized like okay, that is not that is not the way. After that, then I went out with a few people, and then I realized, okay, that is not the way I should. Actually, London is huge. A lot of people. I should be a lot more strict with my own selections and all that. Yeah,
Mm,
like nothing wrong. It's just like different person have different preference. Like it's good
yeah.
to be strict on your preference. Don't be so loose on that. Then it kind of definitely got a lot better, and then I am able to get more quality matches, and then I'm able to spend more time on texting with those quality matches and all that. But for me, definitely a few things that I would complain, I guess, is that I okay, it's just my preference, not really complaints, but generally, because like when I primarily use Hinge. I actually stopped using Coffee Meets Bagel because the app is so bad. It's just an app thing, like the app design is so bad. Yeah, so I whenever I use Hinge, I would always comment on people, and then I usually don't comment on pictures. I comment on like whatever they say and all this, because I feel like that is more interactive. I like to peek into their mind, their interest, instead of just purely pictures. Yeah,
Mm,
that's me. And then I would definitely appreciate if girls would, when they like it, they will, because I definitely put a question. I don't just put a statement. I put a question. I would appreciate if they reply it to like to that question, instead of just like it and then like expecting that for me to initiate. Initially, like during the early stage, I would actually like initiate and all that, but then I was like realizing it's not that sustainable. I mean, like for me, if you don't really reply to that, I guess it's not exactly my type. Yeah, yeah.
mm,
But also another thing, I guess, is don't, this is my preference, but I generally don't really like when people ghost me. Like it's okay if you find that, okay, I'm not your type, you want to reject me and all that. It's okay. That I would rather that you tell me than you just ghost me, and then it's like, okay, cool. So yeah, that, I guess, this is my experience and all that. But generally, it's been surprising how well it worked out in London and all that. Wondering, do you have any questions for me regarding this topic?
when you mention ghosting, you mean like letting you know, you mean before meeting up or after you have a very nice date or after you have a very bad date?
Okay, good question.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, I've never had any bad dates yet. All of them are good. Just that definitely there are dates where I realize, definitely she's not what I'm looking for, and then I am the one that go ahead and rejected her. I would like reply, but I reply definitely nicely. I reply nicely and saying that, it's just I don't see that you're not what I'm looking in a relationship and all this, but it's amazing. I'll always love to still be friends with them. If they're happy with it, I would love to connect on Instagram. I think, because like whatever they talk about, their interests, like it's still slightly aligned. I would love to see how their life go and all that. I think the ghosting, it happened mainly during texting. There's one particular one. I hope that person is not listening, but yeah. I mean, I'm not gonna reveal more about that person, but just I think she suggested to meet somewhere, and then I suggested to move out of Hinge, like use WhatsApp or Instagram for chatting.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah, and then she suggested that, actually, not me. She suggested that in that case,
Oh.
and then I sent her my Instagram, and after that she just ghosted me. I don't know why. I don't even know what's her Instagram until today. Yeah, I was like we set the date, the location, and all that,
Mm.
and then even the day, I actually went to that place because it is an interesting event.
Wow, Andrew,
But
you
like
actually
before
went
bef-
without confirmation.
I mean it is. No, no, no. Cause like it's okay. It's not like going to a restaurant, having a dinner, and all that. So we're going to an event that
Mm,
something's
okay.
happening. It is an interesting event. So I personally am interested as well. I mean, it's a Southeast Asian event, so that's why I went. I was like, oh, there's gonna be Southeast Asian food. Like either way, I'm gonna enjoy myself there. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, but basically, like even on the day itself, I'll like double check, just telling her like, I'll be there. If you're there, happy to meet. And I don't know why she ghosted. I hope nothing bad happened to her. Sometimes it could be other stuff, but like hopefully nothing bad happened to her. But yeah, generally I just don't dislike when people ghost me. Like it's better that you tell me, any reasons, even if it's like a fake reason, but tell me about it.
A
Don't
fake reason
ghost me.
you would
Yeah.
take that.
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah, yeah.
see.
I mean,
Mm.
I wouldn't know whether it's real or fake. At least you give me a reason. So, yeah,
Mm. Okay, so here's the female
yeah.
perspective if you want to hear. I think sometimes
Amazing.
when
Okay.
when when I find the person that I met's not exactly what I'm looking for. I mean, okay, for example, there are some cases when I mean, I knew that they are a student, and then when we meet up, that it was also knowing that okay, they're in a super not like a different life stage, but it's just that um it's also something interesting in the society of Germany. So becomes a society where lots of students finish uni quite late. So for me, if I want to look for somebody who is of a similar working experience as me, like for example, 2 years after graduation, I might need to look for people over 30. I'm 22 now. So I need to look for people over 30 for them to have graduated from university and work for a few years. So the contract is quite big. So if I go on a date with people for around my age, most of the time they will still be in university. And I think from that date, I realized no, I don't think I could be in a relationship with the person who was a student now. Like if I was back in university,
Same.
probably. But now it's like no, I just don't think so. But then I would have this kind of like I don't know like not sure how you convey it to that person. You can't just like I find it quite wrong to just say, yeah, I'm sorry, but you're a student. I don't think we can make this work or we could explore this further because the excuse, it's not an excuse, but my reasoning might sound super, I don't know, not very acceptable, or it might be odd for some people because for some people, maybe the whether you're working or you're studying, it's not an issue. So when they hear such a reason, then they might find it so much as an excuse or be offended and so. I'm still trying to figure out how could I phrase and deliver this reasoning in a better way that does not hurt people's feelings. So yeah.
So do you just ghost them, or like what else do you do? I don't know.
Yeah, unfortunately. Because I'm still trying to figure that
Okay.
out. If
Yeah.
somebody could tell me, like, how could you phrase like your personal preferences in a super respectful
Mm,
way that doesn't
mm,
offend the other person, then I think that would be a nice
I
thing
guess. Okay.
that I could do. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. I have more questions. I feel like it's a bit weird that we are going so deep into this online dating thing, but it's like really the first time where I find someone that I can actually speak to about discuss about this. Yeah.
Mm.
But yeah, like I mean for me, I totally get what you mean. For me, I wouldn't. Student is really not my pick as well. I would I would kind of say that it is like I feel like different life stages, so it is something that's like incompatible for me, and yeah, I rejected a few that's like that at that stage. So I basically just told them like yeah, it's been a really amazing dinner conversation with you. I really enjoyed it, but don't take it personally. It's just that I don't think you're someone that I'm looking to be in a relationship with. I think that's like word for word. So that's basically what I
Mm.
do. But then I'll follow up with like, oh, but definitely I'll still love to stay connected as friend. Yeah, if you don't mind, we'll love to connect on Instagram and all this. And then there's a few times because like they're students, they happen to be students, and then I have this LinkedIn referral thing, and then I'll be like, yeah, we talked about this LinkedIn referral thing. If you're interested, I can share to you. LinkedIn Premium referral
Tips and
thing. Sorry.
advice for you.
Yeah, like I'm
You're
like I
very
love to
kind,
contribute.
Andrew.
I mean, I just don't want to end it at a bad note. I was like, I
Mm.
honestly enjoyed the conversation. Just that definitely there's still some things that doesn't match. Like I wouldn't, I can't see us in a relationship and all that. So I want to make it in a very nice note. Yeah, something like that.
Mm.
Yeah.
There's a
Mm,
book that I
yeah.
just thought of, which I could recommend audience or Andrew you could
Oh,
also read.
okay.
It's called The Husbands.
Sure.
It talks about a woman like she's single, but then one day she wakes up in her flat, and then there are like new husbands climbing down from the ladder every day. And when she sends her husband back to the attic, they would just disappear, and then there will be a new husband coming in, and then there's a learning, and I think which is also quite applicable to whether it's dating, whether it's relationship, whether it's marriage nowadays. So highly recommended.
Hmm.
Usually I don't read things that's so like unrealistic and so, but I found that book quite nice and have a good learning out of it. So it's called The Husbands.
Okay, thank you for suggesting. I like literally like this short period of time. This I think over the past few weeks, like especially yeah, especially yesterday, I went on another date. It's like I have this huge question that I'm gonna ask you later. I feel quite embarrassed sharing this about it, but I guess this is the main thing about this podcast as well. I want to make it as
Mm,
transparent as possible.
yeah.
Yeah, so I've been looking for books to figure out. Thanks for suggesting this, but just wondering, how, because I know using online dating apps is very intentional. So I believe, I'm not sure what you think, but I believe most people will know that the date that you went out with might be talking to multiple person at the same
Yeah.
time because it is dating app and all this. Um, how, so like, if like I guess this the kind of the stage I'm in right now. So embarrassed to share this. So if you know that your your date is currently interested in multiple person, like they are, and he's kind of ironing out, like going to a few more days, not to want to be in multiple relationship, but to figure out
Mm,
what is the right one. How do you
they're
feel about
picking.
that? Yes, basically. And
Oh.
that is basically what, like I guess it's kind of like I honestly wish this is not happening to me. I hate it so much. Like I mean, rejecting on the first date is good. I was like, okay, I really know, but like having this confusion stage, I was like, I know definitely I'm only picking one, but then I was like, how?
You mean
And
in
then
the
I'm wondering the female
situation when
perspective
you
as
are
well.
the one picking, or when you know your date is and you are one of the prospects?
I think in my case right now, I mean, like if I'm one of the data and then I'm one of the prospect, I can't really do anything about it. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I guess I just hope for the best, or like, yeah, because I understand it's not something that I can control. Yeah, yeah, definitely, I wouldn't want to force them to choose me. That's like so wrong and all that. But in my case, it's really I am the person choosing, and then I'm wondering
Mm,
what would the female perspective think about this? Like, would they see me as like a playboy or whatever? Like, it's yeah, something like that.
I love these hypothetical questions, putting myself like imagining the situation. Mm,
Thank you. I'm happy that you actually would think about all this. I appreciate that.
but I guess also similar to what you mentioned, like if I'm a girl and then I know somebody's prospecting, it's like, um, I think whatever not like belongs to you, but whatever is meant for you will be yours. So I don't need to make additional effort. I think I'm good in the way, just the way I am. I don't need to do additional things. Like, not like I don't contribute in the relationship also, but in the stage of like when you're trying to figure out or evaluate whether a person is a good match for you, I think I'm good the way I am. So I don't need to like, oh, if somebody's prospecting, then they would just pick whatever they think is a good match. And I think that's also the thing with like almost with life with decision making, there is never the best choice, but it's like the most suitable option that you think, okay, right now that's should be something that I go with, and that will be it. So I think I'm quite open about that. And
See, that's okay.
but
Let's
personally, okay,
say,
like we might also have different people, different approaches, and so
I should really find more people and ask this hypothetical question. Yeah, but
yeah.
another hypothetical question. Let's say if you are you know you're one of the prospect, but you're interested in this person as well. If you were to get rejected, what personally in your case, what would you think is the best way to get rejected, or there's no best way?
Best way to get rejected.
Like getting rejected, but then you will still feel better. I don't know and all that. Yeah. It's okay if you don't have an answer. I think it's just I'm just trying to understand more from a female perspective, which is something that
Mm,
yeah, it is so hard. This is
um,
one of the hardest challenges that I have right now. Yes.
Mm.
I legit paused my Hinge and then I'm so afraid of it. I was like, no one anymore. I'm in a very critical situation, which is
You're stuck at this
bad.
obstacle and you need to solve this before you can move on with life.
Yeah, I think I would. Like I'm at this point where I think I'll be picking one already, unless they suddenly they are no longer interested. Yeah, but yeah, so like basically, I guess Hinge worked out for me,
Yay.
even without subscription. But
That's great.
I don't know. I
Actually,
mean,
good to know.
like still figuring out and all this. But then like I guess I overthink a bit. Yeah.
Mm.
So, but I'm just like preparing myself. I guess like yeah.
I don't think being rejected by a date is too much of a big deal. It's just a date.
Okay.
It's not like, I don't know, for example, Andrew,
Mm,
like a 5 year relationship that you mentioned, or
I
like a
see.
very committed relationship, and then you went through a lot, and then together, and then you
Mm,
were really fond of each other and you loved each other deeply, and then having to
okay.
bring to an end. So, like, I think that's a very next level. But if it's just a date or trying to figure out whether it matches or not, you haven't even built like crazy a lot of memories together, or sharing or things that you share together, then yeah, I don't think that's a big rejection that people should take too deeply or personally to their heart. Yeah.
That gave me quite some comfort. Definitely, I'll speak to more people to understand more, especially females and all that. But yeah,
Yeah.
thank you for answering that. I was like,
You're welcome.
I'm happy about that. Yeah, okay, thank you. All right, do you have any questions for me regarding this before we move on to the next topic?
Mm, no, not for now. I think I'm still trying to figure things out from a female perspective. So the men's perspective, I'll leave it for later or
Sure.
when I have more experiences.
Absolutely. But I'm happy to know that okay, there's someone that's using dating apps and all this. I was like, okay, I next time I can probably go to you to learn from your experience and ask perhaps all these hypothetical questions.
Yeah, we can have another call. I can be your personal consultant.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely, yes. But yes, wondering. I remember when you talk about did you had the life crisis before? Is it like recently? I don't know, or like just wondering if you have suffered from, or are you suffering quarter life crisis?
Quarter life crisis. I haven't even reached my quarter yet. So. But
Oh yeah.
yeah,
Oh
I'm
yeah.
young,
Oh yeah,
22.
yeah, that's true. That's
Um,
amazing.
I think not like a crisis, but maybe in a way of, I think back to the career thing or like life mission. I think in a sense of
Mm,
being brought to this world and I want to do something good. And I think I'm still not yet there yet. But I don't think in the sense that I'm suffering. Like I like my life and the things that I do and also the free time that I get to have right now. But in the sense of
mhm,
it's just kind of like figuring out how could things work out. Because, for example, personally, I'm super into this kind of. I'm also helping a social enterprise in Hong Kong. They are called intercultural education. So they do like cultural education within secondary schools, and I think sometimes primary. So kind of like for students at an early age. So I think that's something like that I'm super passionate about, and I literally do work kind of like as a hobby. So I'm like, okay, now I want some social mission,
that
and I'm
is
gonna do this.
amazing.
Yeah, so it's a very nice and fun thing for me to do. But again, it's like thinking, okay, could I turn this into a full-time career? Is it possible in Germany or so? Because I think previously last year we ran like an online exchange program between students in Hong Kong and students in Europe. So different countries like Germany, Denmark, Greece, and I think Belgium. So in the sense of, and then you figured out, oh, sometimes within feedback, if we have students who don't have a very advanced level of English, then you see that in feedback form. Then students might be commenting, yeah, not exactly sure. They could understand each other because of the English level. So in the sense of, I think after I moved to Germany or also away from the UK, I kind of started thinking about, yeah, I have this cool vision. And so people are like connecting, around the world and that they really put themselves in each other's shoe, being curious about each other's culture and way of living. And culture doesn't mean just food and clothes, please. So it's I think way more than that. But then to begin with, if in a lot of countries or even places like Germany and so people are not confident with speaking English or using that. How could I get them to connect by using English to talk about all these advanced topics? So at one point, I'm like, maybe I should become an English teacher rather than doing cultural exchange. So, so I don't know. In 50 years time, people's English level, they feel comfortable using the language with each other. Then we can go to the next level. So I think it's something that I'm still trying to figure out and be like, what would be like something within my lifetime that I could contribute to, which could for us to progress into that point of like intercultural understanding and communication.
That's amazing. Okay, that's really cool. Interesting. The first time hearing that, which is something I truly love about this podcast because I guess we just like there's so many different perspectives that we just never know existed. It's like only true talking and all this, and then you learn that.
Right.
Yeah.
So having
So
conversations is an amazing way to spend time, I think, personally. I love having conversations.
yes. What is your next excitement in your life? The next exciting thing in your life?
I saw that question and it might not be a typical excitement, but my nephew
Mm.
was actually just born yesterday. I think it's
Oh
amazing.
wow,
Because
that is
I know
cool.
my sister-in-law is giving birth like on Friday, so like I was a bit anxious and nervous and hope everything goes well. And by the time I wake up and then I see my phone and be like, my dad just sent me a photo like at 2 a.m. in my time. And I'm like, whoa, so it's already out, my nephew's already born. So that's great, no stress. So apparently everything worked out fine. So I guess maybe trying to explore this topic or thing to do with how is it like being an aunt or what kind it's not like obligation or responsibility, but how do I want to carry this role and how I could remotely do this bonding with my nephew because I realized in my family it's like we're not the first how to put this in the sense that when I grew up all my aunts and uncles they're never in the same country as me, so I always had remote uncles and aunts, so we rarely see each other. And then now I realize, oh, I'm also becoming one of those remote aunts. And how could I do this in a good way? Because I guess it's also through trying to nurture these, let's say, long distance friendships that I have already, and then be like, okay, how could you still maintain the friendship and the bonding and so. So I guess trying to explore how I could do that with my nephew. So yeah, this I will figure out. Yeah.
That is amazing. That is really lovely. It's very wholesome, honestly. I really like that. I really like that. Yeah. But yes, on the other extreme, what's your recent biggest struggle?
Mm, my not quite a struggle, more like a challenge, I think, with my
Mm.
German exam. I took that in August. For the entire month of August, like every single day, I spent an hour on German revision every day, even on weekdays and then weekend and everything. So I think that was a very intense period of revision because last time I did an exam, it was like 2 years ago when I finished university and I haven't done any more exam. And I'm like, yeah, it might be the only German exam I'm taking, so I wanted to give my best. So it was like a lot of effort and so, and then just I think 2 weeks ago I found out that I passed it, so that was all good. So it's nice to see things working out and that your input kind of yeah is reflected by the output or the result of things, which does not often happen in life. So I guess like it's not so much a struggle, but it was like an intense experience, and again, it kind of shows the fact that, or like for some topics in life, if you put in the effort, it could actually have a good result or a nice outcome. So it gives hope to me or people, I guess.
That's amazing. That's congratulations about that. Yeah.
Thank
I mean,
you.
like recently, I guess it's an amazing time to share some wins as well. Like recently, I don't know. I recently learned this thing where um so like I believe you know Elon Musk.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he has started many companies and then most of them are quite successful and
Mm,
those companies are quite like risky companies. So like it's like who builds rockets and then who builds electric car when that time there's no electric car and
mm,
what else was there? Like there was he's building a like PayPal electronic bank when when we are just when we're just born actually. So it's very high
Mm.
risk thing. So many people will say that he is very lucky. He's like he got a like luck to where that made him successful. But honestly, definitely, I wouldn't say that he doesn't have luck. But if he continuously have been so successful for such for so many times, there it must be more than luck. Definitely,
Mm.
there is something in him that made all this contributed to all this success. He is actually a smart guy and all this kind of stuff. So that is what I notice in me as well. So I notice when I have very strong conviction towards something that I want to do, um, like it is. I usually take huge risks. So like in my life, I have took three major risks three major risks. So first one is when I think spend most of my life saving into like doing cryptocurrency mining. Second one is
Mm.
that I started my own business, and then third one is when I decided to fund my girlfriend's education. I think there's
Wow.
something new. Actually, I just revealed this on the previous episode. That's why I was like, okay, now I can reveal this. But yeah, so like when I have a strong conviction to do something, I will make sure that it will work. Definitely, I took a great risk in doing that, but because of this strong conviction I have and then all the effort that I put into it, the outcome might not be what I expected, but I wouldn't lose anything. I would I will always gain experience or like gain financially. So it's always good. So like because this right now, I'm not sure if you know my condition. So right now I'm unemployed, and then I moved down to London, and I'm still looking for a job. I'm giving myself 1 year, even though right now I have a new I I kind of changed my mind. I'm like, no, I'm for sure staying in London. I'm not moving anywhere else. I like no more 1 year plan. It's like definitely I have to find a job in London or somehow find some way to have income to sustain myself in London, and then I will live in London. Yeah, but so like after learning this, I was like, yeah, I definitely it's not just pure manifestation. It's not like, oh, I know that when I want to do something, it will happen. It's not just like I'll sit here and continue thinking about it while watching Netflix every day. It's like definitely I have to put in the effort into doing things
Mm.
a few days ago, I went to an investor summit, and then I went and meet a bunch of different investor founders. Yesterday, I was just speaking to a founder, which I do plan to invest in his startup and all this. Like I'm constantly making all this connection. I'm applying for new jobs. I just had 2 interviews last week, but like knowing that when I have a strong conviction towards something, I will make it work. That made me realize, yeah, I am good. Yeah, I am good, and then I don't have to worry so much about this. Like I don't have to worry. I can be a lot more optimistic about what I'm doing instead of like worrying about how bad it might turn out. Something like that. So
Mm.
yeah,
Yeah,
this is something
placing
that
the
I
focus or
learned
attention
recently.
on the positive things or also like what's within your circle of influence or it's even like I don't know with
Yes.
interviews or with anything or even going to competition. It's like as long as the moment I did that
Mm.
and then I'm like I think I gave my best and that's the best I could perform
Exactly.
with everything. Like nothing else matters. Like they reject you, then I don't know, like it's their loss. Like you did your best and I think there's nothing to regret and I think
Yes.
that's a state of mind that I'm like, okay, always striving to achieve. Okay, once I've done that, there's nothing else I would regret about. Then whatever happens, it's out of your control. So yeah.
That's amazing. That I mean, like, yeah, I guess on more career side of things or this, I am able to apply this mindset a lot better. But on other aspects, I'm still working on it. I'm still working on it. Like
Mm.
definitely, it's not a solved thing for me. But yeah, this is what I realized, and then yeah, something definitely I'm quite happy about. Yeah, yes. But on to the next question. I feel like I hope you have a different answer for this, but we'll see. What's the one thing that you love about yourself? It doesn't have to be something big. It can be something really small, but you just that's a trait, something you love about yourself.
I think probably the curiosity in the world and in the lives of other people, and thus the passion to make changes or to connect people. Yeah, because
Mm-hmm.
I do read I think first it was like through real life interaction with like people from different countries and living a very different life or even childhood and so and then recently I got this book. It's called like I think last year like it's called This Is Europe. So it talks about 30 something stories of 30 something people living in Europe, and it's
Sorry,
not all
what's... Oh, this
glamorous.
is Europe, is it?
Yeah, This is Europe is the book title. And I think it's like a journalist and then interviewing different people. And it's like super cool stories that you never knew, wow, such a life exists. And it's not all glamorous. So it kind of shows you the diversity of people's lives and how and the struggle and also similarity and differences that they share, because there are always like similarities such as I don't know loss, like losing a job, losing a loved one and so, but there are always similarity of like for example reuniting with a family member that they haven't seen for a long time, or like being in a loving support network, whether that's like friendship or also like relationships. So I think it makes me see that how different people could be, but again also how similar human beings are with some nice things.
That's beautiful. I really like that. Yes, like I guess there's something I recently started learning, like making connection and all this. I realized how important networking is, and then like yeah, like I that's why when I love to make connections, I would like, even if the date I went out with is not someone that I want to pursue even further, I would still hope
Mm,
to maintain that connection. I would love to help them.
mm,
I would love to share them LinkedIn Premium. Hopefully it helps out in their future. All that kind of stuff.
mm.
Yeah, but yeah, I realized like making connections is great. One of the reasons why I started this podcast, and then it's really amazing that I get to chat with you. Yes, just wondering if you have. That's it for my questions. If you have any questions for me that you're interested to learn from me, yeah.
Apart from career, what other life goals do you have right now? Because it
Good
sounds like
question.
career is a very big thing in your life. And what other things would there be?
Like it's that is a very good question. I guess honestly, I had that, like I had this midlife quarter life crisis thing. That's why I decided to quit my job, and then
Mm,
decided to start like now move down to London, hopefully to get end up in career, hopefully to end up in finance, because I honestly I grew up not unlike you have a mission of saving the world, which is really cool. I don't really have something like that. My mind is all about earning money. I just want to make money and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it has
mm,
always been that mindset, which I I guess definitely, because like my family didn't like my grandpa came down from China, Fujian, China
mm,
to Malaysia. And then he's like the first generation Malaysian in my family. Then he worked really hard to send my dad and my aunt to go to university. And then my dad, I grew up seeing how my life has transformed because my dad worked really hard from living together with my grandpa and my grandma into moving into a nice place, and then being able to send us overseas to study. So it's I guess because of this, money became a very important part of my life. So if like always in my life, it's always about money, until
mm,
definitely then quarter life crisis happened, and then I realized I am very interested in entrepreneurship. Definitely one aspect because they can make money, but I love how to help company grow. I love to assist them in any way possible. That's why I am going into this venture capital in industry, where you can help them find funding, support them, and then on the side make money as well. Like kind of aligns all the goal. But if you talk about
mm,
all my other life goals, my mom's passing definitely gave me a brand new perspective in life. It made me realize like we should learn to live a lot more. And one of my motto right now is just to make sure that I don't want to I want to make sure that I fulfill my potential in any ways, like different things like um yeah, But for me, I guess more important right now is like I really love like the sports that I'm doing. I really love running. Last week I just ran a half marathon. Honestly, like
Wow.
at this point, initially I was just thinking I mean, I've been running for 8 years, so it's been a consistent thing in my life, and then I like how it keeps me healthy, and then I quite enjoy it as well. Last week when I was doing the half marathon, I wasn't thinking of breaking my own personal record. Like I was telling everyone. So before that, I'm sorry, this is going a bit off tangent, but I swear I'll get back to it.
No
Get
worries.
back to what's my life goal. Yeah, so I was doing this half marathon because the so like when you're running a half marathon, definitely you're running for a very long time, and then like you're running across the city, different routes and all this. So sometimes
Mm,
the route can be good. You're going downhill, so you're expected to run faster. Sometimes you have to go up hills and all this, which expected you be slower. So my previous personal record is 1 hour 34 minutes when I did in Edinburgh, which is one of the best route in UK where it's downhill. Imagine starting from I believe you know very well. So starting from the National Museum of Scotland, and then
mm,
going all the way downhill to I forgot what's the beach like, the beach of Scotland. So going downhill I can do very fast. I broke my personal record there, and then knowing that this run in this half marathon I joined last week, it's all going. It's like there's multiple hills. I was like, well, it's unlikely that I'll break my personal record, so I set myself to break, like to run under 1 hour 40 minutes. That's what I told everyone. And then personally, definitely, I would still love to break my own record, but I was like setting myself 1 hour 32 maybe, like because like there's one point of diminishing return when you run. As you run faster, like it's harder to improve at a certain point, and I believe I'm at
yeah.
that point. So like 1 hour 32, if I can do it, it's amazing. And I honestly I'm not trying to be humble or anything. I actually surprised myself by by breaking my personal record by 7 minutes, and then I ended up
Wow.
finishing at 1 hour 27 minutes. It was very shocking to me. I was I Yeah, I'm not being humble because like the the last time before I did the the half marathon, it was the last half marathon I did was probably 4 years ago, and then my previous best record is I think almost 5 years ago, which is 1 hour 48, I think. Yeah. So I improved 40 minutes in like 5 6 years. Of course, in the middle, I did join other marathons events, just that I never joined half marathon, so I can't do any apples to apples comparison. So it
Yeah.
took me six years to improve 14 minutes, and then like within this, I joined the Edinburgh one earlier this year in May, and then that happened in last week, which is almost October, 5 months time. I did not do any specific training and all this, and then I ended up breaking 7 minutes, and then at the not so easy terrain, I was so shocked by
Yeah.
myself. I remember at the final 5 km, I because like there's this one thing we do, we don't. I think most runners they wouldn't check their average pace because you don't want to get influenced by that. You just let's do our best. We don't want to get stressed out by that. So like at the five km point, we know that at least for me, I know that I can check it, and then I know if I know my condition, and then I can probably speed up because it's short enough to sustain through it. And then I saw my
Mm,
time; it was on par to break. That time I didn't know the exact time. I just know that I can run under 1 hour 30 minutes. I was so shocked, and then I was literally talking to myself like, Andrew, how the fuck did you do that? How the fuck did you do that? I don't know. It's still a mystery today. But like okay, basically the whole thing I just want to illustrate is that I'm happy to realize I'm happy that I not just fulfilled my potential, I actually exceeded my own expectation, and like I guess these are the things. This is like the life goal that I am working towards. Yeah, definitely. I'm not. I would personally, I would do baby steps, improving anything that I'm particularly interested in, like in career and all this. Right now, I'm focusing on getting a job and then meeting more investors, making more founders. So making baby steps at a time. Make sure that I will truly fulfill my potential. Running wise, this is what I'll do and all this. Relationship definitely. Yeah, hopefully I would hope to find a amazing partner which I will able to grow and both of us will be able to work towards whatever we would love to do. And I think this podcast itself, I don't know, like um originally I started my podcast with my girlfriend, my ex-girlfriend, sorry, to be exact, my ex. It was for because we're entering a long distance relationship. That's why I started the podcast.
Mm.
But then I did it, and that time I was thinking, I would want to continue doing it for the next 10, 20, 30 years, because I just think that it would be cool if you are a old grandpa and then telling your grandkids that
Having a
your grandpa
podcast.
is running a podcast. Like, I'm so cool. Probably by that time podcast is like the lamest thing in the world, but I don't
Oh
know, it
no.
sounds cool. So I
Mm.
think I'm so happy when I had this idea to start this podcast. I think it was definitely something that I would love to keep on doing. It's amazing. Until now I have it's I definitely invested quite some money into this podcast, but it's not something that will kill me yet. Like not too much that will make or break me. It's definitely net positive for me. Like meeting so many people, learning from people like from you. This amazing conversation, I truly enjoyed it. But yeah, I guess it's all this. I don't fully know what is my life goal. I just know that if I do like something, I want to make sure that I fulfill my potential in this. It doesn't have to be super quick. I like to take baby steps. I this year I learned that um, sustainability is most important. Whatever you do, we definitely want to achieve something in it, but it's most important to do it in a sustainable way, where
Mm.
you would achieve something in it, but at the same time you are you are making sure that you are healthy while doing it and enjoying doing it, something like this. So I guess life goal, yeah, fulfill my potential in whatever things that I enjoy doing. Yeah.
Mm,
Mm.
nice. And I really
Yeah.
like your perspective on like when you mentioned when you were running the half marathon and then checking the time midway. So in that
Mm.
sense, it's like because sometimes like for example, even the question itself, like life goal, it's as if something you need to have achieved on your dying bed and then you recall and then what you've achieved so
Mm.
far. But I think it's also worth kind of like I don't know, midway through or even when you're in a project or when you're doing anything. Midway and then you appreciate how far you've come and you would already be surprised by how much you've done already. It does not need to be the end point of like result, what is the final outcome, does it work or not? But I think the process it's also nice too. And it's also worth enjoying that.
Yeah, something I realized recently as well. I realized because I do quite enjoy hiking. So and I noticed all the time when you go on hikes, the view is actually best during the hike instead of at the peak.
Mm.
Usually when you get up to the peak, it's actually a bit underwhelming. It's always when you're hiking and then when you remember to turn back and have a look at the view behind
Mm.
you.
Yeah,
It's
remember
always
to
best
turn around
during that
like
time. Yes, yes. So something definitely like in work and all this you mentioned, it's still something that I'm learning. I always forget to like appreciate like what I've done right now in
mm.
like something that I'm actively trying to do. That's why I think journaling definitely helped me a bit and all this. But yeah, like funnily, I think after the half marathon, I had this lunch with my friend, and then he was asking me, so like if you if you were to die tomorrow, are you satisfied with your life? And then definitely by that time I gave a very funny answer. I was like, oh, absolutely, I'll be so happy to die, because like because of the half marathon thing, I was like so happy about it. I'm like, I feel like I achieved such a huge goal, like such a huge surprise for me. But
Mm.
I mean, like besides the half marathon, definitely I am still happy, because definitely there's still many things I would want to do, but
Mm.
in terms of what I've done, I know very well that I did my best. I did my best on what I've done. So if I don't have any more time left, it's okay. I've already done my best. I can't, I'll just appreciate what I've done, and yeah, just yeah, appreciate it. Something like that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Mm.
Mhm. Yeah. But yes, any other questions? I love to leave it to the floor, hear more questions or
Do you have any, I don't know, book or film recommendations that you really like? Not like trashy TV series recommendation, like not those kind of things, but like inspiring and wholesome books or films.
Books wise, I think I wouldn't recommend any. I think mine is like a bit boring. Like I recently just bought this very nice icebreaker card game, which I was intending to use when I'm on dates and all this, but I haven't got to use it. Yeah, I'll see whether I use it. Tonight I have another date. Yeah, I'm revealing too much about my life, honestly. But for the sake of the podcast, I think
Very
I want to be
passionate.
transparent and yeah,
Yesterday and today as
yeah.
well.
Uh,
Okay.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's hard, like being. I guess I'm happy that even though I'm employed, I feel like I'm busier than when I'm employed. I have so many things stacked up.
Mm.
I was like, yeah, but yeah, I'm just like, yeah, I guess I try to make things quite efficient, and then but I'm learning to give myself time. And next week onwards, I need to balance out myself. But I think books wise,
Mm.
because I don't have too many interesting books yet. I guess I can suggest one. Mine are all more boring personal development books. It will be Personal MBA. The book. Am I reading now? No, I finished reading it. It's quite amazing. So for anyone that is interested in getting an MBA, it's not that I
Mm.
wouldn't suggest taking MBA, but definitely give this book a read before considering MBA and see whether it's actually something that you want to go with. Yeah, so this is that. A movie that is really hard. That is really hard. But I'll still go with my favorite. Because like if you talk about favorite, I have a few, and then I'll go with like, oh, is it like a normal one, an artsy one, and all this. But there's this one film which I really like. It's called About Time. Have you heard about
That's
it?
my favorite film.
Oh my god. Okay, I'm glad. I'm
That's
glad.
my
Okay,
favorite.
yeah.
It's
Tell me, tell,
amazing,
tell, tell me why do you
audience.
like it?
I think it's super wholesome, and I think that, yeah, not to spoil, but I think the learning that the guy found out at the very end, it was a very good way to live life. And it's also like, it's, yeah, it's not so realistic in the sense of like, okay, there's superpower and so, but I think that's still a learning that you could live even in your normal human life. So it's very wholesome.
Yes. Yes. Yes, I totally agree with you. Yes, wholesome. And one fact I just like, it's because of the superpower, it's kind of sci-fi, but it made it not sci-fi at all. Like you would just
Yeah.
forget that they have this stupid superpower thing. It make it so family oriented, wholesome, romantic movie, and totally
Mm.
like what you said in the end, like in the end of the movie, it brings us back, like it tells us that we don't need to be like him to have an amazing life. We can have an amazing life as well without the
Mm.
superpower. Yeah, so yeah, it's like my favorite movie, my all-time favorite.
Yeah, that's the thing with
Yes,
favorite
like
movies. You really want to watch it, but you know, I can't watch it too often. Otherwise, it kind of kills the spark.
yeah, I think I watched it like again in the past few months. I should really
Mm.
record down how many times I watch it, but I really, really love that movie. Yeah, I really love that movie.
Mm.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Okay, it's amazing. Yeah, but yes, Victoria, thank you for coming onto this podcast. I really have an amazing conversation with you, and a very unexpected on the online dating part. I really appreciated that, and then I'm glad to find another friend which I can talk about this. Yeah, so yes, thank you for your time, and yes, how can the audience reach you if they would like to contact you? Mm.
Mm. You can find me on Instagram. I'm happy to text. Yeah, so that could do. And if it's like for
Mm.
career advice, but I don't think I'm very career accomplished right now, but you could also find me on
Mm.
LinkedIn. And if you want to talk about AIESEC, I'm always very happy to talk about AIESEC. If the audience ever want to like find out about it or join it, and so it's a beautiful organization.
That's amazing. All right, so yes, thank you for your time, Victoria, and I really enjoyed the conversation. I'm not sure do you feel the same? But
Likewise. Thank you,
yes,
Andrew.
okay, thank you. If you enjoyed the podcast, I would really appreciate if you leave us a 5-star review and follow us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, or if you're on YouTube, please like and subscribe. Thanks again for listening to Gen Z Journey. We'll see you again next week. Remember to subscribe to get notified as new episodes come out every Thursday, and please share this podcast to anyone you think would enjoy it. This is Andrew Kwan from Gen Z Journey.